Hello, everyone. Hi and welcome. My name is Jackie Kali'ia'a. I'm a development manager here at the Base for Youth and Economic Development Department, and I have been managing the public art program with the City of Alameda since April of last year, and it's been exciting. I've learned a lot. So thank you all for being here this evening, and again, I appreciate your patience with our technical difficulties. So I'm going to do a presentation for about 10 to 15 minutes, but tonight the main focus will really be the Q&A section at the end of this. So there'll be plenty of time for you all to ask as many questions as you'd like. We started late. I'm happy to stay late and make sure that we get to all of your questions. Again, my colleague Jack is here and he's going to help field the questions as we discuss them towards the end. And I'll be going through this presentation here. So this recording will also be posted to the city's website. It's alamedaca.gov/CulturalArtRFP. A little bit of background. The City of Alameda planned and developed a public art master plan. It was adopted by council in December of 2023, and the plan recommends annual grants, so annual cultural arts and arts programming in the city. And it's a really exciting piece of work. We have a copy of it on our website if you're at all interested in learning more. And the funding for the cultural arts and arts programming comes from the Public Art Fund. So the Public Art Fund is funded exclusively through the Public Art Ordinance that started in 2003, which requires major developments to either provide on-site public art or to contribute an in lieu fee. So the funds that folks are applying to are coming directly from the Public Art Fund. All right. So we have 4 $10,000 awards and 4 $5,000 awards, and we are awarding a maximum of 8 grants. So when you apply, you will have the option to select your preference either for a $5,000 grant or a $10,000 grant. Eligible projects. So we have quite a large list here. We've got performing arts that includes theater, dance, music, literary arts such as poetry readings, storytelling, film and video, movie screenings, installations, art education, art lectures and presentations, as well as special events, festivals, celebrations, and artist in residence programs. So here's a picture of Alameda Here Is Anywhere. This was actually a film screening that we gave a grant to last year, and they held a film screening at the Alameda Comedy Club. All right, let's get into eligible costs, okay? So that's artistic administrative costs. So if you're hiring artists or dancers, this fund can be used to cover those expenses. If you need to rehearse or you need a rental space for rehearsal, that kind of stuff. General office supplies related to the production of the event itself, liability and insurance costs, as well as marketing, promotion, and publicity expenses. So ineligible costs are any activities that are happening outside of the city of Alameda, okay? And that also includes social functions. So if you're looking to put on a personal party, this is not the fund for that. And this is also not the fund to fund fundraisers or food and beverages or any out-of-state travel. And please note, we are requiring that you include a 10% contingency as part of your budget. This is just a standard best practice amongst event and cultural arts planners, just to make sure you have some wiggle room depending on your fundraising outcomes. Okay, let's get into the programming, location, access, and timing. So the event itself must be located in the city of Alameda. So please make a note, you do not need to be an Alameda organization. However, the event itself must be happening here. The event must be free of charge, and open to the public. And in order to be eligible to apply, you need to be either a nonprofit organization, a public agency, or a fiscally sponsored organization to apply. And please note, for this grant round, we are funding events taking place July 1st, 2025, and that's through June 30th, 2025. So through that fiscal year, the events need to take place. And please note that the event has to be completed within one year of the agreement, or the grant will be rescinded, which means it will be taken away. And this is a really cool event that was funded last year by the West End Arts District. This is Somewhere to Land featuring Bandaloop. All right, let's get into the broad brushstrokes about what we're asking for in the application process, okay? So to start, we need contact information. So please make sure that whoever you apply, that person is regularly checking their email because we will be following up with some questions if necessary. And you also need to provide proof of nonprofit status. And if you are, for example, fiscally sponsored, please provide a letter confirming that fiscal sponsorship. That can be an MOU or a letter from the fiscal sponsor indicating that they are sponsoring your organization. Additionally, we need organizational details, information. Tell us about your organization. What's your experience? What's your background? Finally, there's the project details. That's a summary of the overall project. This is sort of your elevator pitch. You know, this describes what the program is, what are the major activities, what are the timelines, who are the folks that are involved in carrying this event out. We also ask for a budget. So this is an itemized budget that shows how money will be dedicated to various cost categories in your proposal, and it should also identify any other funding sources. And then we also have an opportunity at the end of the application for you to upload 3 samples of work. This could include video, audio, JPEGs, or PDF documents. And this is the plein air paint out by the Frank Betts Center. This is another event that the Public Art Grants funded in August of 2023. Okay, so how do you submit? Everything must be submitted through submittable.com. We have a special URL specifically for this RFP. That's cityofalameda.submittable.com. And then if you want to download a copy of the RFP, that lives at alamedaca.gov/CulturalArtRFP. Okay, so what is Submittable? Submittable is a secure online platform that helps organizations gather and manage submissions and applications. And once you set up an account, once you set up an account, this is what the back end looks like. So it's pretty clear, straightforward. You have an opportunity to enter in your information. You can also upload documents that we're asking for, and you can easily click through and save your progress and come back at any time. So just click the button that says Save Draft, and then you can log out and log back in whenever you need to. And then as long as you click Apply by March 20th at 5 p.m., your application is submitted in time for the deadline. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about criteria. So this is just a very brief overview of the criteria. This is also included on the RFP, but it gives you some idea about how the Public Art Commission will be evaluating your proposals. So as you can see, the highest weight is the proposal itself. What's the program? Give us the details. We get into experience, your organization's ability to carry out this event, or if you don't have experience, who are you aligning with or collaborating with to ensure that this event is a success? So these are the different ways in which the criteria will be evaluated. And I'll get into more detail, so we're just going to skip forward a little bit. And I'm going to provide you all with an example. Okay, say for example, you're planning on putting on Oktoberfest, all right? So you're looking to feature a traditional Bavarian cuisine menu featuring bratwurst and spätzle. You want to do a pretzel toss and have a lot of really cool prizes for the winners. You want to hire a 5-piece polka band to keep the tunes going throughout the festival. Maybe you want to have a local dachshund race. So this could be your example, and I'm going to speak to these pieces to show you how you can write your responses to touch on all the criteria. Okay? So the proposed event. This is your chance to tell us your story. Why are you excited about this event? Why now? So you could say, it's Oktoberfest, a celebration of Bavarian culture, music, and food. The event is free and open to the public. Experience. Do you have experience having put on this event before? Is this your 10th annual Oktoberfest? Is this your first time? If it's your first time, tell us who on your team you're collaborating with so that you can set yourself up for success. Budget. Let us know that you thought it through. You're going to need permits. How much are they? How much does a polka band cost? I don't know. Do you need to rent a dance floor? Are there going to be street closers? Are you purchasing ads on Facebook or Instagram? Are you hiring an event planner? Are you paying for festival staff? These are the costs that should be included in your budget. All right. Timeline. How long is it going to take to plan your event? Let's say it's 6 months. So if your event is in October, you're going to want to start providing a general overview of your planning activities starting in April. So for example, you could say, okay, Oktoberfest is held in the park. So you're going to want to reach out to Alameda Recreation and Parks Department to book the space. You're going to need food permits. You're also going to want to reach out to Alameda County Department of Environmental Health to make sure that you understand your food permit requirements. And you might need to be reaching out to publishers and local publications to find out how much it costs to run ads. So that's an example of sort of what you're planning to do throughout the timeline. And then leverage funds. So here in the Bay Area, we're very lucky to have a thriving arts philanthropy community. There's plenty of art funding opportunities out here for grant seekers. And we just want to know, are you taking advantage of these opportunities? Have you secured funding from other places? Are you collecting sponsorships? Let us know what you've selected so far or what you're planning to apply for. And equity. Tell us how this proposal addresses cultural equity, diversity, and inclusion. So you could say it's a celebration of Bavarian culture and everyone is invited to the polka. Okay, accessibility. Tell us about how people of all abilities are able to fully engage in your event. So for example, you can say Oktoberfest is accessible by public transportation and the festival will feature an ADA section for guests using mobility aids. And then finally, local preference. Tell us if you're based in Alameda. If you are, great. If not, that's okay too. Just let us know, what's your connection to the city? How are you excited to put it here? You can say something like, Oktoberfest is not located in Alameda, but we love to share and want to share our Bavarian culture with the island city. Okay, so those are just examples. Again, every single project is going to be different, but I want to give you some background on how you can address each of these criteria so that you can set yourself up with a competitive application. Okay, moving forward, this is an example budget. Just a heads up, the link is not working right now, so we're going to update that. For some reason, I went on Submittable earlier and it wasn't downloading, so don't worry about that. But we provided an example of a budget for you to use. You don't have to use this. This is just an example, but just to give you an idea of the overarching costs that we're looking for. And we also understand that you're probably still in the planning phases. So these could be estimates, but have a good idea of how much you think things will cost. So if I was putting on an Oktoberfest, I'm going to put down the cost of polka dancers. I'm going to put down the cost of renting a dance floor. And I'm also going to talk about ad buys. I'm going to buy ads for Google and Facebook to make sure that everyone knows this event is happening. I'm also going to have to buy event insurance. And I also want to have money set aside for my fiscal sponsor because they're charging me 9%. So those types of costs, include that in your budget. Let us know what do you need to make this possible. Okay, so this is an example of a timeline. This is not cut and dry. This is just an example to get you thinking about what we're asking. So your timeline may vary, but if I was putting on an event and I need 6 months to plan, I'd probably be fundraising and looking for a venue and booking my artists early on. And then say in June and July, I'm starting to market. I'm launching our marketing campaign. Everyone knows about Oktoberfest coming to Alameda in October. I'm going to finalize artist contracts. I'm going to book a dance floor. And so these are just ideas about what that might look like. I'm going to print Oktoberfest t-shirts for dogs because we're going to do a dog race. That's my, example plan. But these are all ways in which you can let us know, how are you thinking through how you're going to execute your overarching plan. And here's an example of nonprofit status. So nonprofits, including 501c3s and 501c6s, are eligible to apply. This is an example of a letter from the IRS that says, hello, you are a 501c3. So you can simply provide that documentation when you submit. So fiscal sponsorship, what is it? Fiscal sponsorship is an existing 501c3 nonprofit provides its tax exemption and associated benefits to a charitable project or activity. So there are several fiscal sponsors in the Bay Area: Fractured Atlas, Social Good Fund, Independent Arts and Media. There's lots of different organizations that are set up to support smaller scale arts productions, and they offer lots of different benefits. You don't have to apply for one if you don't want to, but if you are not a nonprofit or a public agency, you will have to get fiscal sponsorship in order to be eligible for this. So just a heads up, Fiscal sponsorship is a mechanism that allows the tax-exempt organization, the sponsor, to support the project partner. And it's a legal and financial relationship that ensures that there's alignment with the nonprofit's mission. So typically it involves a fee. So sometimes it's a fee from 8% to like 15% of your total funds that will be used to cover costs of administration for the fiscal sponsorship. Here's an example of a fiscal sponsorship MOU. This is just an example, but typically it's on the letterhead of the sponsoring organization. It's signed by both parties, and it delineates what the arrangement and understanding is between the sponsoring organization and the sponsoree. Okay, so I've gone over a lot of things just now, but just want to give you an idea about the timeline. The first step is that we're going to be doing pre-screening, ensuring that all the proposals that are being submitted are eligible. So again, it has to be free, it has to be open to the public, and you have to be a nonprofit organization, public agency, or fiscally sponsored entity. And the Public Art Commission will ultimately be evaluating all of these applications. And the meeting is scheduled for April 14th, 2025. And as of now, our goal is to evaluate and complete evaluation of all applications at that meeting. It can go over, as we saw last year. That's exactly what happened. So our goal is that it goes to City Council after decisions are made, and notifications will go out likely May or June. So just a heads up about that. Here's the schedule. We released the RFP on January 30th. Today is the orientation. If you have any other questions, you can email them to me by February 20th. I will respond to all of the questions, put them in writing, and upload them to the website by March 6th. And then applications will be due on March 20th at 5 p.m. The PAC meeting to deliberate the applications will be April 14th, with notifications going out sometime in May and June. And then one more thing, you don't have to worry about this at this stage, but it's something to think about. If you are, in fact, awarded a grant, you don't need one right now, but you will have to have an active business license with the City of Alameda. You will also require insurance coverage. You will also have to submit a W-9, as well as enter into a contract with the City of Alameda. So that contract process can take a couple of weeks, which is why we give ourselves ample time to send out notifications to all of the grantees. And one other point is that you may need a special events permit. So there's certain events in the city that require a special events permit, which brings me to our next grant opportunity that you should think about. The special events permit grant, this is a different program entirely, but it's offered at the same time, and applications are due on March 13th. And this is for technical assistance and financial support for high-profile special events in the cities. We're talking festivals, parades, community celebrations that require street closures, specialty support services from police, fire, public works. So a good example of that is the 4th of July parade, which requires several street closures and support from police, fire, and other city departments. Again, this is a completely separate grant program that requires a separate application, but depending on the scope and scale of the cultural art program that you're applying for, you might also be eligible to apply for a special events grant permit. So it might be something good for you to think about. And then here's the link to the website. My colleague Jack will copy and paste this into the chat so that folks can look it over. But again, this is another opportunity that's coming up with a deadline of March 13th, and it might be something that a few of you are interested in. Okay, so that's my presentation. This is my contact information. Feel free to email me if you have any questions. Again, get your questions in by February 20th so I can upload them to the website by March 6th. Folks can go and log on, read through the questions and the answers. And then if you're interested in applying to the special events permit grant that I just showed you, my colleague Eric Fonstein is handling that, and that's his email. All right, that is enough of me talking. It's been about almost 20 minutes. Apologies. But let's go ahead and move on to questions. How are we doing, Jack? We got any questions in the comments yet?
No questions in the Q&A section, but there also, I don't know if you can change this now on your end, but there isn't a chat available for me. Now we're getting some questions.
Okay,
Um,
cool. All
yep.
right, we've got a question. All right, this is from Gabriel Duncan. What are the insurance requirements? Does the organization need to be named insured or can they be additional? Okay, so the insurance requirements are actually in the RFP itself. So let's go ahead and navigate to alamedaca.gov/culturalart RFP. And if you click Cultural Arts RFP and scroll to page 6, the coverage requirements are there. So for liability insurance, you're going to need $1 million for each occurrence and $2 million for aggregate for bodily injury. And then for property damage, it's $1 million for each occurrence with $2,000 aggregate. And I'll go ahead and share this on my screen so folks can see it. And again, you don't have to have this right now. Right now, you're simply focusing on the grant application itself. But if you do get awarded, you will need to purchase an insurance policy. And so the requirements, again, are detailed on page 6 of the RFP itself. And then there's also a sample contract. If we scroll down a little further, that shows you exactly what it's going to look like. So if you are, in fact, awarded a grant, you will enter into a contract with the City of Alameda that's very similar to this draft sample document here. Does the organization need to be named as insured or can they be additional? I will have to double check that question, Gabriel, and I'll get back to you about the second half of your question. Okay, we've got another question from Marie. If I already have a special event grant for 2024, but the event is scheduled for early June, would I be able to use those funds from this grant towards that event? Unfortunately, these funds are specifically for events taking place July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. So if your event is happening in June, unfortunately, this fund will not be useful for that. Okay. Are there any other questions? Oh, wait, Marie already raised her hand, but Marie asked her question. Is
There's one.
subcontracting allowed? If so, how does that work? Allie, I'm not sure I know what you mean by subcontracting. Can you provide a little bit more detail? And I can actually let you speak. You don't have to go on camera because we're recording this, but go ahead and clarify what you mean by subcontracting.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. So what I mean by subcontracting is like, can I subcontract this out to like another company that is a nonprofit and be able to be eligible for the requirements for this RFP?
I think the best, if you are not currently a nonprofit or a public agency, I think the best way for you to be eligible to apply would be a fiscal sponsorship through a nonprofit. So rather than subcontracting, you would want to, the nonprofit it sounds like you already have a relationship with, you would just need to get into an arrangement where they become your fiscal sponsor. They will be legally and financially responsible for your event, and that's what happens when they enter into the fiscal sponsorship. And then you can get that commitment and get a letter indicating that, and then you can upload that as part of your application by March 20th.
Oh, okay.
Does that
Awesome.
make sense?
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. I'm just trying to figure out like how would I actually do that? Is there a way you can like email some information to me?
Yeah, what I will do is I'm going to go ahead and add into the chat. There are several organizations in the Bay Area that provide fiscal sponsorship for smaller scale arts organizations. So this is just a little bit of best practices. But if you're a smaller level arts organization, it may not be the best interest of you to go out for 501c3 status. There's a lot of legal requirements. There's a lot of costs associated with that. So understanding that fiscal sponsorship is so commonly required in the arts community, there are several organizations in the Bay Area that provide fiscal sponsorship at an admin fee. So what I mean is, say, for example, you get a grant for $10,000. They will get 9% of that $10,000 as a fee they'll be paid to manage the funds associated with that. So the administration of it. So paying out checks to talent. Your polka dancers, they handle that check. It comes out through them. Does that make sense? So what I'll do is copy and paste a couple of these local organizations that do fiscal sponsorship, and it's really just a question of you to do a bit of digging and some research to find out which one makes the most sense for you. And sometimes there are organizations that are pretty informal. They like what you do, and they said, hey, we'll be happy to do fiscal sponsorship. And it may not be something they commonly do. It might not be their bread and butter, but they're willing to do that. I've seen that arrangement a few times. So one of the organizations in town is Independent Arts and Media. That's based in San Francisco. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat. And my chat is disabled, isn't it, huh? I'm going to type an answer here. I'm going to type an answer. Okay, so Independent Arts and Media is one of them. Social Good Fund is another. Fractured Atlas is another. And again, you know, this is one grant, but there's several. So even if it's something you're exploring right now, and maybe you do get it formalized and ready by the deadline, but maybe you don't, and maybe you use it to apply for another opportunity, say Zellerbach or Rain-In Foundation, et cetera. So it's still something good to look into if you're at that stage in your organization where you want to broaden your funding opportunities.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, we have more questions. Let's see. All right, Kim, would the California Historical Society in Alameda qualify for a grant based upon our annual Radio Day by the Bay 2025 on Saturday, July 19th? We are a museum, educational discovery venue for all ages and demographics. Thanks. And is the California Historical Radio Society a 501c3 or a 501c6? Oh, perfect. I see it. Sorry. Yes, you're eligible to apply because you're a 501c3. And the event is taking place July 19th, so you fall within that window. So yes, you can apply. Okay, so Elisa is in the chat here. She's asking, for budgeting purposes, how long does it take to get reimbursed once the event concludes? Very good question. So we provide funding half upfront and then half once the event is over, but it's dependent on the date of your event. So say, for example, you're the California Historical Radio Society, you have an event on July 19th, and you're awarded a grant, and we send out notifications in June. Yay. So we can pay you we can pay you the first half as early as 30 days before your event. So we can pay you as early as June 19th. And then once your event is done, we then pay you after we get the invoice and some photos of the event proving that it happened. Of course it happened, but we always like to get photos to keep that information in our archive so we can show the really cool activities that we're promoting in our city. So if your event, say you're applying for an event in the fall, say your event is taking place October 30th. So the earliest time you can get that money, the first half of your grant, is going to be September 30th. And then you'll be getting the second half of the payment after the event is said and done. So essentially, it's based on the date of the event, and so it's something to think about when you're writing up your grant. Okay, does the 501c3 need to be in Alameda? No, it does not. The event itself has to take place in the city of Alameda, but the nonprofit itself does not have to be in the city of Alameda. So for example, in 2023, we hosted an event with Art Murmur. The Art Murmur hosted what was called the East Bay Studios, I believe it was called. And so that's an example of an event that was funded through Cultural Arts Grant monies for an event that took place in Alameda for an organization that was not in Alameda. All right, any other questions? So okay, so here's another question from Gabriel. So if we applied for a grant for X amount and our actual costs slash expenditures was under that amount, will we still get the full amount? Yes, so if you, okay, let me think this through. So typically, based on the budget example that I provided you all, typically the amounts line up. So how much money you raised, say your event is $10,000 and you got a $5,000 grant from the Zellerbach Family Foundation, and you're asking for a $5,000 grant from the City of Alameda Cultural Arts Grants, okay? Your event costs $10,000. At the end, your artist fees, your permit fees, your rental fees, your food permit fees, that typically adds up to about $10,000. So for the most part, there's not a lot of income generation, which is why these events typically tend to be free. That said, we have funded events in the past, festivals, where the artists are covered by the grant funds, and the organization itself makes money off of the sale of alcohol. Now, that sale of alcohol and all those things happen elsewhere. That's not we're not keeping track of that. That's a completely separate budget. We're paying for the artists that are participating in this festival. So that's an example of how it's been done in the past. So you apply for a $5,000 grant and you get awarded a $5,000 grant, you will get $5,000. The same as if you apply for a $10,000 grant, and if you are in fact awarded a $10,000 grant, you'll get the full $10,000. Does that make sense? All right. These are great questions, by the way, everybody. Thank you for hanging on with us. I know that we started late, so I appreciate you all staying with us. This is exciting. I'm excited to see what other projects you all have in mind. So if there are no other questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I want to provide my contact information in the chat. I'll go ahead and put it as an answer here in the Q&A. Oh, did it do it? No. I think we disabled chat, didn't we, Jack?
Yeah, it hasn't been here so far.
I think it's disabled. Okay, apologies. What I'll do is go back to my slide. How about that? We'll go back to my slide. So
We
that
did get
folks...
one more question, though.
Oh, did we? Let's see. Can the fiscal sponsor take a percentage of the grant? Typically, a fiscal sponsor only takes the admin fee. So the examples I gave earlier, the fiscal sponsor often charges somewhere in the neighborhood of 8% to say 15%, depending on the services they render for the grantee. So I think it would be, yeah, okay, yes, I missed that, okay. So if you were, I don't think that you would want to list a fiscal sponsor as getting a portion of the grant unless their activities were based on the arts, if that makes sense. But typically a fiscal sponsor's only job is administering the financial responsibilities of the grant funds. Okay, let me go ahead and pull up my screen so I can share my email with the website, with everybody here. Okay. Oh, of course, display settings. Okay. All right. Can folks see my email address? No, you can, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a question from Gabriel. So we shouldn't list sponsorship admin fee as part of the cost. No, that's not what I was saying. What I was saying is that a fiscal sponsor shouldn't be charging like $2,000 to the project. Like you wouldn't want to put that as like a line item budget but you would put it in as the fee, the admin fee. So let me scroll back over here to my example with the polka dancing festival. So over here, there's an admin fee included under expenses, and it says event insurance and fiscal sponsorship fee of 9%. So yes, you can include the fiscal sponsorship admin fee in your budget. Okay, so I'm going to scroll back to my contact information. And as a reminder, the applications are due March 20th at 5 p.m. and they're all through submittable.com. And please email me any of your questions by February 20th. I will respond to all of the questions in writing, and I will upload those answers to the website by March 6th. All right, thank you all for joining. Appreciate it. Cheers to my colleague, Jack, who's been helping manage the chat. Okay, I think that's everybody. And again, this will be uploaded to the website likely Monday. So if you missed anything or want to go back and listen back to any of the questions, feel free to check out our website, alamedaca.gov/CulturalArtRFP to get a copy of this Zoom recording. Thank you so much for joining us and have a good evening.